Hello guys, this is Adrian from Trigger Wrestling again. I'm here with my good friend Sam Adonis, the most loved or hated Rudo in Lucha Libre right now? What would you say?
That's a very complicated question because I'm loved for being hated. So,
yes.
Yeah, one of the two. But either way, I'm busy in Mexico and I'm proud to be there. So thank you for having me.
No worries, man, no worries. And then you became the most loved Rudo in Lucha Libre right now because you had a character, a Trump gimmick character. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I think it was, this is 2016 when it started, but Trump was so hot. So hot. And it was such a hot topic issue everywhere, all over social media and all over Mexico. But I think the beauty of wrestling is it always kind of mirrors real life. I brought it out at the right time, and this is at time almost where Lucha hadn't had too strong of a villain in a long time.
Yes.
They've had legends, don't get me wrong, there's been 1,000 of them that are great heels, but it's different. It was something that hasn't been done in a while, so coming out in 2016 with a hot button topic, I was able to rise quickly through the ranks of CMLL and cemented a legacy rather quickly in Mexico.
Tell us a little bit more, do you actually get heat from the Mexican crowd when you come out as an American that loves Trump, a heel, or how do they accept you?
I think the beauty of Mexican wrestling is they still are very willing to suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
I think they don't want to be in on the show. They want to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
And during the time it happens, they are genuinely pissed off. They get into it. They're angry. They fire themselves up for 2.5, 3 hours, and then when it's over, they're able to come back to reality and realize that was fun. I lost myself in that.
That was fun.
A little bit different than the American style, and I like that about it. But there was definitely some sketchy situations, some times it felt like if someone's a little bit too drunk, maybe I should back off a little bit. But overall, I think they're more appreciative of the fact that I am willing to sacrifice myself and not be the cool character for once. I think they kind of enjoy that.
And honestly, me myself, I'm Mexican, and I watch CMLL, AAA as well. Recently, we saw Double J Jarrett at Triple Mania throwing tortillas to the crowd. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. I saw the crowd in the audience. They were laughing. Did you ever thought of doing something like that?
I've been offered to do that multiple times. It's something that a lot of Mexican wrestlers encourage from their American counterparts.
Really?
I'm not really in the position to make that work. In a sensitive society we live in these days, I think there could be some severe repercussions for somebody trying to climb the ladder.
Yes.
Jeff Jarrett is a self-made man who answers to nobody, so to him, if he wants to do it, who am I to stop it? But if somebody wants to hold it against somebody who's trying to make a name for themselves, they surely could. So I've let that one kind of remain his shtick and his MO.
We're following your career. You started your debut in 2008 in Pennsylvania alongside your brother as well.
Yep.
You also traveled all over Europe after your NXT or Florida Championship Wrestling. How's the difference wrestling in Europe compared to the United States?
Europe was, at the time, it was much higher volume. I worked for a company called All Star Wrestling, which was Brian Dixon, and this is the same guy that promoted William Regal and Fit Finlay and Mark Robinson or Mark Rocco, like legendary promoters. But the difference was there's so many different towns and areas that can provide wrestling events. You would have 150 shows a year on an independent level. And in the USA, there's not enough, there's too much space and distance and not enough thriving economies to pull that off, on a small scale. England had that. So even though I learned so much in FCW, I learned even more due to the amount of matches I had in England in such a short amount of time. Yeah,
you also became the British Heavyweight Championship, the first American to win the British Heavyweight Championship. How did that feel?
That was pretty cool. Just and again, this is one of those things. It's like the kayfabe side of wrestling. It sounds cooler than it is, but it is something that as a performer, it's pretty cool just knowing the volume of the promotion I worked for. Brian Dixon's one of the most respected promoters in history, and this is the guy that Bret Hart worked for. Owen Hart. A lot of Americans went, if they wrestled in England, they wrestled for All Star Wrestling. Just professionally, to be chosen as his top guy for any amount of period, it's pretty cool.
talking earlier about your come up in CMLL, and now you're working for AAA. How did the transition? You know, because with all the ongoing beef that they have, you know, you're going from CMLL to AAA.
I was actually supposed to jump to AAA in 2018,
okay.
Unbeknownst to CMLL. While I was living in Mexico, I was supposed to commit the ultimate carnal sin and jump during a pay-per-view.
That would have been impressive.
Nobody knew about it. It was supposed to be a big deal. I was actually supposed to team with Jeff Jarrett and Juventud Guerrero way back then as well. But some personal issues popped up and it didn't end up happening. And it actually caused a rift between myself and Conan for a good 4 or 5 years. He was not a big Sam Adonis fan because I screwed up those plans so bad. If I did do that, I probably would be in a bigger position in Mexico right now, or maybe even beyond Mexico. But you know, everything kind of works out the way it should. And now I think for the 7 years I've spent there, it's generally been pretty high-end, top-quality, main event level stuff. So I definitely think I've carved my niche in Mexico across both companies, and I think, you know, I'm a household name at this point.
We're called Triggered Wrestling because we give out our opinions when it comes to wrestling, and at the end of the day, we don't care who agrees with us, who doesn't, because it's our opinion at the end of the day. Do you have any opinions on wrestling that you're willing to stand on? That
I have a million of them, but that's a whole other podcast here. Yeah, there's so many. I think the one thing that drives me more crazy than anything is people wrestling and treating wrestling like a hobby and not as a job.
Yes.
Even when you get into wrestling school, you should get into it with the intent and potential to make it a job.
Yep.
If you don't want to be the best in this business, get out. You know, and there's no excuse to not go to the gym. There's no excuse to wrestle for free. There's no excuse to live your dreams and talk about how everything's about dream come true.
Yes.
You know, no. There's people out there that have worked harder than you, that are, you know, more deserving of your opportunity, you know, and you're just getting in their way and diluting it.
There's people out there who are not afraid of the grind.
Exactly.
People out there.
Work harder. I was 300 pounds graduating high school. You would never know by what you know who I am now, looking at how I was in high school, that I would become who I become.
Yeah.
But I worked harder. So, you know, people just trying and just doing whatever they can to live a dream, you know, that's not the right way to look at it, because that just slows other people down and gets you in the way. And if you're just happy to live your dream, you're never going to succeed in wrestling. You'll be chewed up and spit out. You know, go 100% or don't go at all.
Message.
Is any American promotion in your radar, like GCW, TNA, NWA, AEW, WWE?
I'm definitely ready, more than ready to sign somewhere huge. Hopefully, I know. I don't know whether that be AEW or WWE, but I think I've put the work in outside of the United States.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The last market I need to capitalize on is the United States, but at the end of the day, I'm a professional. You know, I want to go where I'm best used and best paid and best appreciated. So I definitely know my best days are ahead of me. It just depends on where I'm going to end up.
All right, and as you hear at Barrio Toys, you see a lot of action figures. Do you collect anything?
I did. I had the biggest wrestling collection you'd ever see. I mean, I've had most of the stuff from the 80s and 90s, LJNs and Hasbros. I had so many of them, and I finally sold them about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow, okay.
Now I have, I like to say I collect conversation pieces.
Yes.
I like the toys that you can't have. The ones that nobody else has seen, and stuff that say, wow, that one's pretty cool. So something that a lot of very rare and obscure Mexican or Japanese wrestlers, or some you know, independent stuff that, you know, nobody really knows too much about.
Yeah.
Still have plenty of it, but the collecting days, as far as going to toy stores a couple days a week, those days are the past.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know our friend good Roy Lucier. He also has a huge Lucha Libre collection. Do you think, you know, you can sell some stuff to Roy, or Roy can give you some stuff?
I have already sold Roy a very rare Japanese Abdul the Butcher toy.
Oh.
That's one I deeply regret selling because I want it back. But you know, hopefully, I'm first in line when Roy eventually decides to sell some of it off. I think I'd be one of his first people to call.
What's one piece of memorabilia or action figure that you want that you don't have right now?
Very complicated question. I would say that the Japanese Popey figures of the 80s, I'd like the whole set of that in the package, which is extremely hard to find. Roy will tell you that. And then there's a Hayabusa figure that there's one of 50 of them in availability. It's a red variant. And that's from Depot Mart, yeah. So.
All right, man. And I'm Adrian again. And please tell us where we can find you. Like,
follow me at Real Sam Adonis on Instagram and X. I have a podcast on ad-free shows with Conrad Thompson called Learning Lucha, where we talk about Mexican wrestling for the layman's terms. And coming to a city and town near you, come support pro wrestling, and keep checking out Lucha Libre AAA.
There you go.